So we're here today to talk about ninja marketing. So 10 tips and tactics for ninja marketing. And so I'm going to start with a little bit of a history on what it is that we're doing here at all. Marketing is something that I think everybody feels like they know about. But when we think about what does marketing actually mean, a market is what? It's a place where people buy and sell things in a very simple way. But if you think a little bit more abstractly about what's going on there, it's a place where people are going to fulfill their needs or their wants. And it's a place where people go to help fulfill the needs and the wants of others, right? So it's really, even though we think about like marketing and kind of the term has baggage a little bit, we've been hyper marketed to and hyper advertised to throughout our lives by what we call interruption marketing, which we'll talk about in a minute. But marketing at its essence is a way for people who have needs and wants to go to a place to have those needs and wants fulfilled. And so what it's really about is creating value. And so value is something that you'll hear me say over and over again, because it's a nice way to think about business away from the nuts and bolts of an efficient way of making money. It's how can I create value for the people that I'm really passionate about serving, and then how do we exchange value so that I get value out of serving them. And in that way, we can talk about marketing in a way that isn't just about the mechanics of buying and selling, but even applied to nonprofits and governments and social causes as well. Even a nonprofit is identifying a need in a community and then meeting that need through programs and services. So in some way, any kind of marketing is about that process of value creation. But the way that traditional companies have done marketing throughout, especially the last 50 years since the dawn of big international commercial enterprises, it was really tacky, right? I mean, interruption marketing, do you know what I mean by that? It's the way that advertising and marketing has always been done, in that companies are saying, hey, customer, stop what you're doing, whether that's watching a TV show or reading a newspaper or driving down the highway, and we're going to say, hey, we don't really know what your need is. We don't really know if you're necessarily interested in what it is that we have to sell, but we're going to stop you in whatever you're doing and say, hey, look at me. I got something to sell. And I don't know whether you need it or not, but I'm going to pretty much force you to stop what you're doing and look at me. Two movements have started to dissolve the sway of interruption marketing. Obviously, it's still there, and big corporations still spend, does anybody know how much money was spent on the Super Bowl in terms of advertising? It's billions of dollars, right? So while all that is still there, it's really, really waning in influence. And two forms of marketing have emerged to replace that. One of those is really thanks to the internet technologies and to the web technologies that we have today. It's a far more targeted way to reach out to the people through the internet who you're absolutely certain have the needs that you're trying to meet. And we're not talking about that way today. There's going to be another session, which will probably be the next meetup, where we're going to talk about marketing through the internet. Today, I wanted to talk about what is called guerrilla marketing or ninja marketing. And what the appeal of this kind of marketing is that the 10 tactics and strategies we talk about today don't require any budget whatsoever. So you don't have to have a marketing budget to be able to do it. And so everyone's probably heard the term guerrilla marketing. Anybody want to take a step? Why is it called guerrilla marketing? Is it marketing to gorillas? The banana market? Any ideas, or does anybody know?
Using tactics that are different than what the mainstream is using.
Yeah, it's different than the mainstream. It literally comes, as so many business terms do, unfortunately, it literally comes from war. So the guerrilla or guerrilla tactics that understaffed, undermanned, under-resourced armies would use to compete against a better equipped opponent. So even though we're not at war, they adopted the term guerrilla to mean, like, hey, we're a smaller company, we don't have the marketing budget, we don't have a whole wing of advertising executives on Madison Avenue, so what things can we do to get across our message in a more targeted way to the people that we really want to appeal to? And because our budgets, our finances are constrained, well, we need to use more time, we need to use energy, and we need to use creativity. So use the resources we have that are free to create a message that doesn't necessarily interrupt people, but finds the people, attracts the people that we really want to appeal to. I like to say ninja marketing instead of guerrilla marketing, in part because my brand, ninja, is a term that I use in my brand. Have you noticed that a lot of things are being called ninja these days? Yeah. You're seeing that term more and more. Well, I've been doing it for a while before it got played out. But a lot. So my East Bay group is called the East Bay Social Business Ninjas, and so it denotes in my mind a sort of Zen efficiency. So whereas guerrilla marketing, which was actually it's a trademark term that was coined by somebody, so I don't want to get in any trouble with the guy who came up with that term and wrote the book on it, even though I do recommend that book. I like to put my own personal twist on it and talk about ninja marketing, because it's got this certain Zen aesthetic to it, which, you know, if we don't have the money to do major marketing campaigns, I also feel like today's entrepreneur doesn't have the time. And time is another resource that, between emails and living our lives and managing our businesses and starting new ones and trying to have a social life, we're really, I think, more time constrained than when the concept of guerrilla marketing came out in the 80s. So ninja marketing to me connotes kind of a Zen efficiency about how we're going. We don't have the money or necessarily a ton of time to put into it, so we need to be that much more creative and that much more innovative in the marketing tactics that we use. And so you'll see that theme reflected throughout these tactics. So the 10 ninja marketing tactics that we're going to talk about today are tools that I've used to advise my clients throughout the years. So I've seen people that I've worked with use all of them throughout the years, and I'm personally in the process of using many of them in my own business. So while I've talked about these and seen them implemented, I'm still as well working through actually doing them in my own business, and you all have probably worked with a lot of them as well. So as we go through them, we're going to do some brainstorming, and we'll get into pairs to think about some ways we can actually put these into effect. I'd love to hear your stories about stealthy marketing techniques that you've used as they come up. And then by the end of the day, you'll actually have a plan to go out and start tomorrow or whenever you're inspired to do so. No budget ninja marketing plan. Does that sound like a good deal? Great.